Hi, Radiance Thompson here. We made it to day 2, middle passage. And today we're talking about how healing the mother wound and how I have self-sabotaged because of my mother wound and how it actually costed me a six-figure opportunity. Trying to find a really great place to do this. It's a little bit late. It's 11:17 p.m. here in California. Trying to find the best lighting. Kids are sleeping, all that jazz. But wanted to make sure I showed up because I needed to keep my promise to my ancestors. If you haven't watched the first live, I spoke about why I wanted to do Healing on the Middle Passage live series. Biggest thing is because, well, I don't even know why anyone call it the biggest thing, but it's the main thing. It's the only thing. The reason why is because I did some research and realized that the average amount of time that my ancestors spent on the Middle Passage was 80 days. And in that 80 days, they survived not being thrown over a ship, um, staying alive, living in squalor, not being able to turn over, living as sardines, and I just appreciate their sacrifice. So, in their 80 days of traveling on a boat to here to be slaves and surviving and making sure they stayed alive in order for me to be alive to have this opportunity, I am doing 80 days of lives. So, um, thank you, ancestors, for everything that you have done for me and my lineage. And also, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be alive to pursue my dreams. Now, today I'm talking to you about the mother wound and specifically how the mother wound has costed me a six-figure opportunity. And I'm totally not joking. I'm going to give you a little bit of story and I'll tell you how this specifically played out. And then I'm going to tell you how, if you have experienced something similar, what you need to do in order to overcome it. So, that being said, let's get started. So, with the mother wound, it can perpetuate something called attenuation. And attenuation is the feeling of needing to play small in order to be accepted. Now, when have you ever noticed yourself playing small? How much of your life have you second guessed yourself, overthought, and talked yourself out of following through with an opportunity? Perhaps you do the opportunity, but you second guess yourself along the way about how the opportunity went. Perhaps you overthink how you showed up for that opportunity. Maybe you think, did you say the right things? Did you come across the right way? Did you F things up? And this line of questioning yourself causes you to spiral in your mind about how qualified you are to have these opportunities. Perhaps it makes you look for evidence to validate whether you are worthy of these opportunities. Now, if this resonates with you, let me get to the point of the story and how this relates to how it costed me a six-figure opportunity. Because I allowed myself to spiral out of control, to cancel myself out of opportunities that I know that would benefit my life due to self-sabotage. And I know it was because of my mother wound now, but at the time, it didn't really register. So I want you to understand that self-imposed restrictions that you may have because of the mother wound will cost you money, will cost you opportunities, will cause you to leave money on the table. And that money isn't just for you to buy expensive things, but it's for you to create generational wealth. It's for you to create a way of helping others through your legacy. So if you have an unhealed mother wound and you know that you're dimming your light and you know that it has affected your ability to show up in your fullness with opportunities, if you know that your unhealed mother or father wounds has costed you money, has caused you to leave money on the table, send me a DM to schedule a session with me so I can help you heal your mother wound so you could stop leaving money on the table and build generational wealth. Now, I actually went on an interview So here's the story. I went on an interview for a corporate job, and it was going to be a job in the sciences. Not sure if I've told you or if you've read all of my other posts, but I went to school for the sciences. I have a biological degree from the University of California, Irvine. And one of my former jobs, I made T cells for cancer patients. So I worked as a cell therapy manufacturer. Basically, you harness T cells from cancer patients, you re engineer them to target their specific line of cancer, and it gets re injected into the patient. It's a form of immunotherapy, and it is in place of chemotherapy. Now, I am looking to get back into the sciences. So I found this job and it was a 6-figure opportunity. And I would be actually doing, real biological assays again. I would be doing experiments again. And, I went to the interview and, I let me give you a little bit of backstory. I had 10 days to prepare for the interview. 10 days. I had 10 days to make sure that, I had studied for, the types of technical questions that they would ask. I had 10 days to make sure I had my dress ready, to make sure I had my shoes ready, to make sure, I had my cover letter and my interview, not my interview, my resume ready. I had 10 days to make sure I had a sitter for my kids. I had 10 days to make sure I, had my car put together and, all that jazz, because it was a 3-hour trip from where I was to where the interview is. And for whatever reason, instead of taking the 10 days to prepare and do little things little by little every single day, instead I waited till the last minute to do everything the night before. And, I was thinking, okay, it's okay. I'll just show up. I'll dazzle them with my personality. I'll dazzle them with my energy. I'll dazzle them, with the cover letter and the resume that I put together, and it looks really nice. And, I'll just show up. I had convinced myself that that was enough, right? And that's complete BS. And there's an element of confidence subtly to that, but really not preparing before an opportunity where they're going to give you 6 figures of their company money in order for you to perform a job. That's self-sabotage. That's BS. So I walked into an interview and I didn't have my shoes ready. I thought I had the shoes in the car the night before, and I didn't. And I didn't have, myself together the way I wanted to have myself together. I didn't get enough sleep before the interview. I quickly threw my stuff together before the interview, my clothes and everything together. Didn't have enough time to put my makeup on nicely. I didn't have enough time to truly prepare and study for the technical questions and get myself more capable of regurgitating whatever they needed to hear in regards to my previous experience. I was completely not ready. And I also didn't show up. I showed up like just at the nick of time, just at the same time as my interview. And I wish I had shown up earlier, because when you're earlier, you're on time. And when you're on time, you're actually late. And when you're late, it's unacceptable, right? Have you ever heard that? So I wasn't even truly on time for the interview the way I really wanted to be. I wasn't early. I was just at the nick of time there. And it's because I had overestimated my ability to get through traffic. So I show up to the interview. I have Birkenstocks on because I didn't have my shoes ready in the trunk the night before. I didn't have my stuff ready. And while I had the experience for the job, I didn't get it. I didn't get it because I wasn't ready for the interview. And I wasn't ready for the interview because I self-sabotaged. And I self-sabotaged because of my mother wound. And my unhealed mother wound had caused me to not show up in my fullness, to not show up in my full capacity for that interview. And I dimmed my own light in fear of my own power. So I want you to hear that and let that sit and let you understand the fact that I literally lost out on a six-figure opportunity because I was afraid. And I intentionally put hurdles in front of myself by creating obstacles that were unnecessary because of my unhealed mother wound. Who has ever experienced something to that magnitude and really kicked themselves afterward for it? Let me know in the comments. So, because I wasn't taking myself seriously, I had regressed into some bad behaviors. And that is what caused me to rush, to not have enough time, and convincing myself that I didn't have enough time. Because I really did. I had 10 days, right? I had 10 days. So your mother wound will also make you regress into excuses as to why you didn't have the time, why you didn't have the qualifications, why you didn't have the resources, why you all of these other things that you truly created for yourself as reasons why you couldn't do something instead of reasons why you could. I'm a single mother. That excuse came up. I had to drive 4 hours. That excuse came up. I had to get my car fixed. That excuse came up. But I knew this. I knew this for 10 days. So it's not like I didn't know. It's that I use that as an excuse to not show up in my fullness. So I'm saying this to say, when you have an unhealed mother wound and when you're not aware of how it will cause you to use factors in your life as excuses or as rationale for why you cannot do something, why you cannot show up in your power, why you cannot be the highest and best version of you, because you have all of these other things that are preventing you from doing that. Ask yourself why you feel like those excuses quantify your ability to not show up in your fullness. Who else may have had those types of excuses and why they couldn't show up in their power? What other voice do those excuses get associated with? Does this story resonate with you? Ask yourself that. When have you seen yourself or someone else, especially a feminine figurehead in your lineage, find ways to not show up for themselves? And if this resonates with you, ask yourself if you know that you're someone that has self-sabotaged and has overthought themselves out of opportunities, that has dimmed their light and has prevented themselves from showing up as a leader. And you're someone that says, what, I'm done being this person. I want to show up in my sovereignty. I want to create generational wealth for my family and the people that show up into my circle. I want to actualize my gifts into reality. If you know that you're that person and that you still have some wounds that you need to heal, especially in regards to the mother, because we're talking about mother wound healing. However, I just want to be clear, I do mother and father wound healing because you need both for unity and for wholeness. So that being said, if you know that this is something that you need, send me a DM so we could schedule a session together, and go ahead and look at the testimonials on my page to see how I've helped people with sessions with me. Okay. So a little bit more about how the mother wound caused me to self-sabotage. I didn't believe I deserved the opportunity. I didn't believe I could fill the role. I didn't believe I was capable of being who they needed me to be. I didn't come to the interview with the confidence believing I was going to rock it. I came to the interview in the energy of, I hope I'm good enough. Not that I'm great, not that I'm going to get it, not that this job is mine. I came into it in the feeling of lack. I hope I'm good enough. I questioned my enoughness. I didn't take that bold, courageous move to be 110% ready for that interview. Instead, I got paralyzed by anxiety and didn't prepare nearly enough. So when you're unaware of how your unhealed mother wound will cause you to dim your light to be accepted or to attenuate or to appear less than, and will cause you to go along with the status quo to avoid being judged harshly. And because I had already been in the pattern of dimming my light to please others, of course, with a six-figure opportunity, I would, in the sciences that I would love to do, of course, those old patterns of behavior would resurface and be like, hey, hello, are you sure you deserve this? Are you sure you're ready? Who are you to put yourself in that leadership position, right? So here's what's happening energetically when you are not showing up in your fullness. What does that even mean when you're not showing up in your fullness energetically? So when you're born, you have an original energy signature that determines what you resonate with in regards to the career that you're going to love, the relationships that are going to resonate with you, the experience that are going to give you the most fulfilling time, the music that you like, the food that you like. So when you have a mother wound, which may come from the belief that you feel guilty for owning your gifts, for stepping into your power, for embodying your sovereignty, and for stepping into a higher level of leadership, that original energy signature that you were born with begins to contract. So if you imagine a big, giant energy shell around your body that's illuminated, just full of joy, love, happiness, contentment with yourself, right? And then you have a mother wound that's saying, uh-oh, dim your light, don't show up. And then you start to contract within itself. So if you were to imagine your fullness compared to the contraction, there would be gaps in between. And those gaps are what cause you to feel a sense of lack, a sense of not feeling whole, a sense of something is missing. And when you feel like there's something missing, that's when you start to put things in those gaps that you know you shouldn't be doing, but they give you that temporary sense of wholeness. So you start to fill it in with behaviors that feel good for the moment, but won't get you to where you want to go. With relationships that feel good for the moment, but don't give you that fulfilling need, that they don't really feel the desires and the needs that you truly have. They just are placeholders. That's when you start to have temporary satisfaction, but not wholeness or unity. And really, you start to feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. The needle isn't moving forward, and you feel like you're going in circles. You may even feel like you're spiraling. And ultimately, it comes from a feeling of stuckness. So in the case of the mother wound, you may fill in those gaps with self-sabotaging behaviors, not preparing for the things the way you want to, or the way that you know you could have, not showing up to your full capacity. Perhaps it even makes you afraid of showing up to your full capacity. And you overthink about how you show up, and you end up chronically optimizing yourself to the point of procrastination. And the end result is that you don't show up as authentically as you. So now that I know, going back to the story that I told you, now that I know the parts of my unhealed mother wound that had been triggered and what I did, now I know how to circumvent those issues and patterns of behavior, especially if they come up when there's a new level of leadership that I'm being called to embody. And now I know when I am doing activities that encourage me to shine my light and how to show up authentically as a leader, I can self-coach myself and know that my unhealed mother wound can be coached through, so that way I don't forego opportunities that are financially lucrative or can put me in the position in front of certain people or, as a leader. And this is what I would do for myself, and also what I do and walk my clients through. It's something called the EAT method, EAAT. It is a multi-dimensional, multi-layered healing method that helps you shift from surviving to thriving. So here's how it works. E for evaluate your ego. How are you positioning yourself in different environments? Does your positioning change depending on who you're with? A, accept your shadow. What characteristics do you deem unfavorable? Now, here's where the mother wound also plays a big part. You may feel selfish for pursuing your dreams. And the thing is, when it comes to leading a fully balanced life, and the fact that your mother wound may make you a caregiver in situations where you do not always need to be a caregiver, you need a healthy balance of selfless and selfishness. Because I would not be able to do this live if I was constantly doing something for someone else at this moment. I would not be able to pursue my dreams if every moment was dedicated to someone else other than me preparing for this life. I'm saying this to say, it doesn't make you selfish to prepare for your dreams. But if you have an unhealed mother wound, it may convince you that going after what you desire, your goals, your aspirations, make you selfish, and it doesn't. Wholeness comes from selfish and selflessness, a balance of both. And there was this really amazing quote I heard from the oh my gosh, it's like it's escaping my brain. And I read his work. Well, I know of his work, and I have read his work, and for whatever reason, it's like completely not in my brain right now. But he said something so profound. He said, "I would rather be whole than good." And it's this. Oh, it's like on my tongue, and his name is right on my tongue, and it's so true because wholeness comes from being aware that you need to be a little bit selfish sometimes, that you need to be a little bit selfless at times, and that both of them cultivate you. So I really want you to digest that. I'm gonna get the name. It's gonna come to me. I don't know why. It's like escaping me right now because it's like, duh. And it's gonna be one of those moments. Anyways, E for evaluate the ego. We talked about that. A, accept your shadow. Now A, align the body. You may not realize that you create your past. And you may be so comfortable with recreating your past, you don't even realize it. So you have to align the body to do actions that it may not always feel safe to do, but get you out of doing actions that you are most comfortable doing and that are recreating past situations. What do I mean by that? Your body may be aligned to recreating the past. Recreating the past in terms of your actions, in terms of patterns of behavior, in terms of how you cope with leadership opportunities and how you cope with showing up for yourself. Your body may be doing these things unconsciously. I was unconsciously creating hurdles for myself. My body is aligned to doing unconscious behaviors of self-sabotage. And it feels safe in doing that because that's what it's used to doing. So you have to realize and ask yourself, are the things that I'm doing really, yes, they may make me feel safe, but are they healthy actions that are going to benefit my life? This is why you have to align the body. Okay? Let me know if that makes sense for you. T, transcend the soul. What themes do you see showing up in multiple areas of your life? If you see certain themes showing up over and over again in different areas of your life, that is a theme that your soul is wanting you to call attention to. And if your soul is asking you to call attention to it, once you solve that problem, that is your way of vibrating closer to the destiny where your soul has been called to go to. So begin to look at recurring themes. Okay? The more of these themes that you solve and the ripple effect that that solution will have in your life, the closer you are to vibrating toward your destiny and answering your soul's calling, self-actualizing your gifts, and embodying your sovereignty as a leader. And ultimately, healing the mother wound one step at a time. So if this is something that you know that you have had an issue with, you know, you've seen this happen with your life multiple times, and you're like, I'm done counseling myself out of situations that could propel my life forward in the most beautiful way, I really want you to schedule a session with me. And go ahead and look at my page to see all the different testimonials, to see how I've helped my clients get results with how the mother wound has showed up in their business, in their relationships, and then actualizing their gifts. Okay? So I'm really excited because this is day 2 of the middle passage, and I made it because it's 11:53 p.m. PT here in California. So I have fulfilled my promise to my ancestors to keep on doing this 80-day challenge for them as an ode and paid homage to thanking them for surviving the middle passage. And I appreciate you for listening. And once again, if you know that you would like to schedule a session with me, go ahead and send me a DM, and I would love to schedule a session with you. Okay, thank you so much for listening. Sending you so much love.